Hey everybody, this is Brad from Johnson Small Engines. I have come across in the past probably 2 years what these are called, they have solder wire connectors, and it makes it great for me being one-handed. Remember back in the day when you had to solder something, you had a soldering gun and you had the old-fashioned solder. I don't have them to display that right now, but everybody should know that about soldering. You know, use a gun and then use a piece of solder to solder metal connections together, and they came out with these. And these are actually, they have solder in the center and there's a little silicone on each side, and when you shrink them together, the solder actually melts the wire together. And I'm going to show you how we do it. Now basically you just need a soldering, what I have here is a whole group of different solder connectors, and they have different sizes for different size wire. I tend to go to the skinniest I can for my wiring, and I've already stripped off the wire here for both of my connectors that I'm going to put this on. And you just need a pair of wire strippers. You can get these at a Harbor Freight. Wire cutters, sometimes the strippers actually have the cutters on the end, and you're fine as far as stripping off your wire. You don't even need to strip off this much of the wire. I just did it for the purposes of watching this video here. It probably should be a little bit shorter, but basically what you're doing is you're going to take one of these connectors. Now I had to go out and purchase a heat gun, which I've had for a while, but I didn't realize how many purposes this thing actually works. It works great for heating these up and soldering them together. Now this one here is a finished product of what I did, and it basically shows it's a very tight, this is a solder to solder, it's not going to come apart, put it that way. It's exactly where you're supposed to be. It's a good solder connection with the two wires. I actually have heat shrink, which is over here. Buy some heat shrink that goes on top of these. Now, technically, you shouldn't have to put heat shrink on top of these, because you have your silicone that's supposed to actually keep the seal proper in it. I just use it for double protection. So what I'm going to do is, I put the heat shrink on first, and you got to be careful you don't melt that. Then I put the solder connector on the wire here, and right in the center where the solder is, you're going to have your other wire that comes through. Then you're going to put your other connector through that, and you got to make sure in the center together so you have both pieces. Now I'm on a steel countertop, all right, and this is I don't recommend doing this over any kind of countertop that you have to worry about heat, because we're going to turn the heat gun on now. We're going to crank this up, let it get warmed up here, and what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to melt that solder. Now I've had good luck with these and some bad luck with these. Sometimes you melt them too much and it melts and it burns up everything, and sometimes it works out real good. We'll see how it goes here. You're basically just going to hold the heat on it until it melts the solder, and then once you see that solder melt, just did there, and you're going to pull back on the heat, but I'm going to do the ends here to get the silicone to melt too. So now try not to touch this, try to keep it set up and just let it cool down, and once that cools down, then you're going to test, you're going to pull both sides to make sure that it actually worked well. And this is probably a little bit too soon, but yeah, that's pretty good. That's not going anywhere. Alright, then what I do is I put the heat shrink over it to cover everything up. And I'm actually going to see if it'll fit over this, just to make it look a little bit nicer. It doesn't quite fit over that terminal. And then you just heat up this. And some people heat all the way around. It's a little bit harder for me, being one-handed, but turn it over and heat up the heat shrink, and boom, we have a solid wire-to-wire connection with solder. And it was all because we use these soldering connections, and it eliminates having to use a soldering gun and holding it with solder. It was really hard for me to hold a soldering gun and hold the wire at the same time. So this made it so much easier for me to use these, and it's a wonderful thing. So I just wanted to show it to everybody. If you got any electrical problems that you're doing on your lawn tractor, your lawn equipment, it's an awesome thing to buy. I bought these on Amazon. I'm sure you can get them wherever, and get yourself some heat shrink to cover it, and it makes it look very nice when you're done. And that will not come off, that will not come apart until you're ready for it to come apart. Thanks for watching, and if you like the video, give the thumbs up and subscribe. Thank you.